Alright, we've had a request to better explain the accented section and how it affects the envelopes within the access. The accent section is all velocity based, either by MIDI coming in or by this velocity input. The sensitivity control adjusts at what level between, let's say if you're controlling MIDI, would be MIDI messages 0 to 127 for a velocity value. So the sensitivity would say at what point am I going to look at that note as a high velocity or low velocity value, and if it's higher than the sensitivity control, then it's going to use this portion for the attack and decaying portions of the envelope. If it's lower than the sensitivity control, it's going to use the attack and decay in the normal envelope section. So what that does, let's go ahead, and we've got a MIDI controller keyboard set up to the left of the access here, and I'm going to just play some notes. Now you can see whenever I play a note higher than the sensitivity control, this LED is going to light up, indicating that we are using this attack and decay time for this envelope. When it's off, we're going to be using this attack and decay time. Now if we always want to use this attack and decay time, go ahead and turn down our sensitivity control, and now it doesn't matter how hard I hit a key, it's always going to use this attack and decay time. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn on this arpeggiator and play a couple notes into it with varying velocity values so we can play with that. Let's hit a hard note and a soft. Now I've also got the velocity controlling the pulse width of there. So I'll go ahead and turn that down. So we've got various velocities coming into MIDI, and our sensitivity control is turned all the way down. So at this point, nothing is causing these attack and decay times to be used. As we increase this, let's look for the LED to light up. There we can see that one note is using that. Now we've got this envelope assigned to the filter cutoff frequency. And you can hear that when the accent happens, we're getting just a very short attack time. We've got our fastest attack time actually, and a short decay time. Now we're on the verge of two different notes there. I can hear it catching on two notes. So when it's non-accented, we're getting this longer attack time and this short decay time. Now we could change these. So we're getting just a short little blip whenever the envelope's accented. Let's go ahead and increase this so we get a couple accented notes. So now we've got this pattern going between accented and non-accented. And what we can do with that is create more variations by varying the attack time. Let's say set one short and one long. And that just adds a little bit of funk to your envelopes that would be impossible to play live, really. Now let's go ahead and keep increasing this sensitivity control, and you'll notice that our pattern of accented notes is changing as well. As we get closer to the high sensitivity control, you'll see this LED just stays on all the time, and that's because the velocity value, it doesn't really matter what it is, we're always looking at it as it is above our trip point to use this attack and decay time. So that's how you jump between these two times. Now we also have two accented times envelopes in the amplifier section here. These last two, the first one is will play it's basically a decay only envelope, and that'll happen when you have accented notes, and then you have a sustain and a release envelope, which is going to happen for normal notes. So let's go ahead and we're going to remove the amount of envelope modulating the filter cutoff, and we're just going to bring that up, and now we're just going to be listening to the effects this envelope has. So this is adjusting our decay time for accented envelopes now, and this is adjusting the release time for normal envelopes. So we're going to get a gated time whenever this LED is off, and we're going to get a decayed envelope for the accent notes when it's on. So let's go ahead and listen to that. Let's go ahead and increase some of these. Here we're adjusting the attacked decay time, or I should say the accented decay time. And we can increase the release time for gated notes or normal notes. And you can tell, even though we've got a long release time, this is choking that release time to be off. So that's another neat little technique you can use. Now let's go ahead and select the accented envelope and normal envelope that are both decay only in our amplifier section, and turn this up. So now whenever this LED lights up, this is going to affect our accented decay time, and this is going to adjust our decay time for non-accented notes, or when this LED is off. So we could get two different decay times, and we can vary those. We could set them the same to get the same results. We could set them to different times to get kind of an open-closed or a choked type sound, or we can adjust our sensitivity to instantly jump between this value or this value, or we can vary it if we've got varying velocities coming in to kind of create a different pattern. Which that's an easier way for you to kind of play the feel of the envelopes without sitting here and doing this and trying to get it back to, let's say we're getting more variation there than we would if we just do this. We get more consistent results but change the pattern when changing the sensitivity controls. So there's a lot of interaction that happens between these times and these times, and so you just kind of have to understand it and how it's going to affect. Now let's go ahead and say the result you want is envelopes that are kind of decaying at different times, like this, where we've got one short, one's long. But since we're jumping between attack and decay times for accented section and decay time at the same time, and let's say we're using that envelope to modify the filter, well then we're getting different sounds for every note, whether it's short or long. So the trick is, if you want this envelope affecting the filter to stay the same, then just go ahead and set these times to the same time, so it doesn't matter where it's jumping to. Otherwise, if we adjust the times like this, then accented notes and non-accented notes each get their own feel and shape for the filter, or whatever this envelope is being modifying. And if we just, again, playing the MIDI controller manually, playing a key hard, playing a key soft, hard, in addition, we can increase this velocity value, and accented notes will be higher, or have a higher modulation amount for the filter. So let's do that. And let's go ahead and set our times to be similar for each envelope. So here's soft. There. So I'm just playing notes at varying velocity values. Also, we can increase this velocity value in the amplifier section, and now the note is going to be louder as I play notes, or softer as I play notes soft. And in combination with the filter cutoff, In addition, we can assign velocity to the pulse width modulation parameter so that as notes are played harder, that pulse width becomes thinner. As notes are played softer, you remain closer to that original 50% duty cycle. Let's go ahead and increase this. I'm going to go ahead and select the attack, sustain, release so we get nice long gated sounds. Also, we can assign velocity in the modulation section to modify oscillator B's frequency, and that's not going to be so musical on its own. You're going to get results like this. That's just playing a single note on the keyboard but varying the velocity value. But if we go ahead and switch the sync on, oscillator B is going to sync its frequency to oscillator A, so when we vary the velocity of every note, the harmonics of this oscillator are going to change due to its frequency syncing. If I turn down the velocity for the filter and the amplifier section, so there's lots of ways you can use velocity to interact with the different stages of the excess as well. And again, if we don't provide it already in the modulation section, you can always route the velocity output right here into, let's say, the oscillator modulation section if you want to control oscillator A in that way. Or let's say, well, we've already got it for the filter, but you could pass this velocity on to other modular gear, whether you've got the Euro rack or the large format. And while we're on the topic of that, the excess is a great way to get into your modular systems because it does take MIDI coming in, it converts it into your CV out, mod wheel out, velocity out, LFO out, which is syncing to MIDI clock, and the CV out will also support pitch bend messages, and these are all like the volt per octave CV standard, positive polarity gate types. So for all your other modern analog synthesizers, it's already set up to control those and follows the same standard as them. Your large format modular systems already use the 1/4 inch style connector, so you can just use a 1/4 inch patch cable to plug in our outputs to theirs. If you're using the Euro rack 1/8 inch jacks, all you need is a simple cable that'll convert 1/4 inch on one end to 1/8 inch on the other, and you're ready to go. And it's just a great way for you to get into the modular world, and you could get an excess to begin with. You've already got a lot of modular capabilities, but then as your needs grow, you can add more modules through the Euro rack or the full-scale modular systems and patch those in as you want. Let's say you wanted to use a different type of filter, or you can even use DSP processing. Let's say you want to take the waveform outputs, run them into a chorus, and run them back into the external audio input to fatten up those sawtooth waveforms and make like a super saw type sound. You could do that, or pitch shifting, or any other weird effect you want to apply to the waveforms before it gets processed through the filter. So lots you can do with the modular stuff, and it just begs for you to experiment and learn what is possible. So play around, have fun. Thanks for watching.